Now, I rewatched Rent-A-Girlfriend recently for research purposes, obviously, and I realized that apart from the main character, who was the biggest piece of trash that I've ever seen in my life, the anime was actually pretty decent. So I wondered if there was any other shows where the main character is the exact polar opposite to where this piece of trash, and guess what? There's actually quite a lot of them. So here is the top 10 anime where the main character actually tries to hold back his desires. And without any further delay, let's get going. So to start off, we have Val Love. This is a show that wants to join the adult genre so freaking badly, but ends up just short of its target. So the main character isn't your average harem protagonist, mostly because he doesn't even want to be one. Nicknamed Demon Lord by his classmates thanks to his scary face, the main character avoids people like they're contagious. But the gods have other plans, you see. The 9 Valkyrie sisters show up and inform him that he's humanity's last hope. But guess what? He has to get intimate with them to power up their abilities and save the world. For a guy with social anxiety and zero romantic experience, this is basically hell in the shape of a dating sim. And I'm pretty sure that the writer thought of the show as, in his teenage years. This is basically the wet dream every guy at least gets in his life when you're around that age. So anyway, the show isn't the best in the genre, but still is a decent one at a little bit. So go and watch it, especially if you have a thing for 2D waifus. Next up at number 9, we have Fotokano. So if you have a thing for anime girls that are drawn with quite a bit of attention, this is the show for you. So Fotokano starts out deceptively innocent, just a shy high schooler getting his hands on the camera and dabbling in photography. But very quickly, the lens becomes a metaphor, because that guy's not really discovering the art of photography. He's learning how to deal with his inner demons, but unlike the more aggressively hormonal MCs in the harem genre, the main character doesn't start being a simp from the get-go. His desire is quiet and observant. That might make him seem a bit more respectful, but let's not kid ourselves here. The camera gives him permission to get as close as he wants without actually confronting his feelings. That's the tension. He's constantly towing the line, pretending it's just art, when half the time he's clearly just getting away with a sneaky beach shot. So overall, this is a pretty enjoyable show, and it's just a bit heavy on the fan service part. And if you're in for a beach day... see what I did there? No? Okay, moving on. Then at number 8, we've got Green Green. Now, this anime is basically a flood of every ecchi anime trope that you can think of. The show is about the male students of a formerly all-boys school who are basically the most unfiltered, unhinged gooners you will ever see. And while the story technically follows the main character, who is the only guy with a shred of decency, he's barely hanging on to that title. So he is caught between his own awkward curiosity and the all-out madness of his friends. Every girl who shows up becomes an instant target of slapstick-level pursuit, and the school descends into hormonal anarchy. You don't know what I meant by the last couple of words, so go search it up, because I don't want this video to be demonetized. And I don't know why, but the anime tries to add some emotional stuff to the plots. Let's just say I'm not the biggest fan of that here. But overall, the anime is actually pretty decent, so give it a try if you're looking for an anime that you can watch with your brain turned off. After that, at number 7, we have Immoral Guild. This anime exists to push the boundaries of how far you can go before crossing into a full-on adult content. And somehow it still manages to pull off comedy and structures while it's doing it. So the main character is a skilled monster hunter ready to retire and finally live a peaceful life. But there's a catch, of course there is. So he keeps getting saddled with female rookies so inept that he's forced to babysit them while they accidentally strip, make highly inappropriate noises, or get into inappropriate situations with the monsters. Go figure. It's less of a guild and more of an ecchi purgatory, and here the main character's struggle isn't about morality, it's about survival. Because if he tries to be a degenerate in these types of circumstances, the only women he'll see are the maidens in heaven. And if it weren't for the circumstances, this guy would be on the same level as Issei from High School DxD Embracing the Chaos. But overall, the show is a little bit repetitive and sticks to the classic cliches just a bit too much. So if you're okay with that, it's a great watch. Then at number 6, we have Tonagura. Now, I can't think of any jokes to start this review, and I'm too lazy to research for one. So let's get straight to the plot. The main character here is the dream boy next door. At least that's what his shouted friend remembers. But when the two reunite after years apart, she discovers that the dude has gone full gooner mode. He's now constantly walking into compromising situations, falling face first into that part, or casually making comments that could make a nun retire, and his self-control, if you can even call it that, is in shambles. He doesn't mean to be a creep, but hormones, timing, and non-stop stream of slapstick seem to sabotage him at every turn. What saves him from total sleazeball territory is the fact that he's painfully aware of how the girl sees him, and he wants to fix that. His desire to regain her respect is real, even if his body keeps betraying him in a sitcom-level mishap. So, kinda like Grand Blue, but a bit more serious. If you're looking for something simple and enjoyable, give this one a try. Next at number 5, we have Tenpuru. No one can live on loneliness. Now, stuff like this makes me question life itself because the Japanese title of the show is Temple, but when the Western producers decided to change it to the most generic sort of title you could imagine, like, why? So in most harem anime, the main character either doesn't notice the girls around him or pretends not to, but the main character here doesn't have that luxury. He's painfully aware of every curve, every accidental brush, and every dangerously suggestive movement. And he's terrified of it all. Raised by a father who just so happens to be a man with not that much decency, the main character believes his bloodline has cursed him with uncontrollable desire. And guess what his solution is? Become a monk and swear off woman in life. But the dude lands in a temple full of beautiful, affectionate girls who all live with him. So basically, this guy is trying to achieve spiritual purity while girls fall on him, sleep next to him, and occasionally bathe in rooms he thought were empty. And that's basically the plot, because why not? Every moment becomes a test, but the show elevates it, so it's actually pretty funny. Yes, it's repetitive, but you'll get through it. Just switch off your brain for the night. It's a quick watch. Up next at number 4, we have Majimoji Rurumo. The makers of this show put every stereotypical trait of every naughty character out there into a blender, and as a result, this guy came out. And he wastes no time letting you know it too. He's been labeled the school's biggest creep, and for good reason. He gets busted for peeping, reading something suggestive in class, and just generally being that guy. When he meets a deadpan witch in training who offers him magic tickets to grant wishes, it seems like a setup for disaster. One wish equals one ticket used equals one step closer to his death. And what does he wish for first? Her clothes, the most hidden ones. But here's where it gets interesting. He doesn't use the tickets. Not after that first one, not for the selfish gain, no. The main character, despite all his questionable antics and dirty thoughts, becomes the rare case of an MC who resists because he chooses to protect someone else, even if she doesn't know it. So I'd say that's some pretty darn good character development, and the show is actually enjoyable. So be sure to give it a watch. Next up at number 3, we have They Are My Noble Masters. Now this guy might be the only harem protagonist who looks like he actually earned his spots, because when the most main character in this position are tripping over some very specific spots and apologizing every 5 seconds, the main character here handles 3 powerful sisters, a mansion, and an army of chaotic personalities with the calm of a seasoned diplomat. He's surrounded by suggestive situations and the kind of accidents that usually launch entire anime careers, and yet, the man barely flinches. That doesn't mean his desire isn't present, it's always there. Anyways, the show itself leans into romantic comedy, but it never turns the main character into a punchline. And listen up, degenerates, this isn't one of those fan service heavy shows, so keep your head out of that gutter. Overall, it's a pretty decent show that you can just watch and have a fun time with, so be sure to give it a shot. After that, at the second spot of today's list, we have Mysterious Girlfriend X. Holy mother. Now, this guy drinks his girlfriend's drool every day. And I'm not saying that metaphorically, metaphysically, any other kind of metas out there. That alone disqualifies this anime from any sane conversation about romance anime. But somehow, this utterly bizarre premise unfolds into one of the most emotionally grounded and genuinely intimate shows about adolescent desire in anime. And that's just shocking. The main character is fascinated by his girlfriend, and not just her body, but her strangeness. And rather than push for physical closeness in a traditional way, their entire relationship centers on the exchange of saliva, which becomes their emotional tether. And I want to jump off a bridge for saying that line out loud. Anyways, if you're in the mood to watch some cute stuff and you can get past the drool part, go and give this a try, because besides that one last part, it's actually pretty good. But at the top spot of today's list, we have The Legendary Hero is Dead. Now, what's with all the anime spoiling their own plot? First, we have the detective is already dead, and now this, but unlike the other show, this anime doesn't clickbait us with its first episode. This show promises to be a full-on parody of the fantasy genre and ends up being just that. Because if there's one thing the main character isn't trying to be, it's a hero. Unfortunately for him, the actual legendary hero dies in a pit trap he dug himself. And through some quick necromantic meddling, bro ends up inside the dead hero's body. Because why not? From that point on, he's supposed to be humanity's last hope, but saving the world takes a back seat when the guy can barely keep his eyes or hands in check. This man is a walking thirst engine obsessed with legs to the point of fetish level fixation. He is basically the anti-Tanjiro, not noble, not selfless, just dragged along by fate and constantly distracted by thighs. So overall, a really decent and funny anime, so give it a shot. And that's the list for today, guys. If you made it this far, please be sure to comment down below on which anime you think should have been on this list. Also, if you've been here a while and aren't subscribed to the channel, what are you doing? Subscribe to the channel and press on that bell icon. Set us all to be notified about all our latest new videos. And if you like the video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. And as for now, I'll catch you later. See you in the next one.